How to trigger her fear of losing you. Works every time. Old Stoic wisdom. The greatest happiness is to know the source of unhappiness. Zrenia Fyodor Dostoevsky. There's a truth most men never realize until it's too late. The deepest fear in a woman's heart isn't about being alone. It's about losing a man who doesn't fear losing her. Not just any man, but a man who walks with self-assurance. A man who knows his value so deeply that he never chases approval or begs for attention. He doesn't argue. He doesn't explain himself endlessly. His silence speaks louder than words. His presence demands respect. And it's in that calm, grounded presence that her fear awakens. It's not panic. It's not desperation. It's a sudden shift inside her. A realization that she could lose something rare. A man who could walk away and actually mean it. When you carry yourself like that, when your actions say, "I'm not here to be chosen, I choose," she feels it. Not in her mind, but in her gut. And that's when everything changes. Her attention sharpens. Her energy leans toward you. You're no longer the man trying to win her over. You're the man she doesn't want to lose. In this video, I'm going to show you how to activate that ancient instinct inside her. Not through games or manipulation, but through timeless Stoic principles, self-mastery, detachment, quiet power. Why does it work? Because it flips the dynamic. Because real men don't beg, they attract. Let's break it down step by step and show you exactly how to trigger that fear. Every single time. Let's begin. Number 1. Live as if you're already whole. There's something undeniably magnetic about a man who walks through life as if he's already complete, not because he's pretending, but because he's genuinely found that peace and wholeness within himself. He's not chasing validation. He's not waiting for a woman to complete his story. Instead, he's already the man he was born to be. This is where real power begins, not in chasing, not in pleasing, but in becoming. Picture this. You wake up each day with purpose, not to impress, not to gain attention, but because the fire within you demands that you move, build, and rise. This is the essence of Stoic wisdom. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." That truth alone shifts the game, because when a woman senses that your happiness does not depend on her, something profound happens. She begins to fear losing you. Why? Because true self-sufficiency is rare. In a world where most men are seeking someone to patch their wounds, to give them meaning, to save them from their own silence, you become the exception. You become the storm that dances with calm. You become the man who can sit with silence, who thrives in solitude, who draws strength not from attention, but from alignment with his own values. That's rare. That's powerful. And yes, that's what makes you unforgettable. As Epictetus taught, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. A man who does not try to control her, or the outcome, but who lives freely in his own strength, that man stands out in a sea of the desperate and the dependent. When you're always available, when you text back instantly, when your days revolve around trying to earn her affection, you lose the edge. You become predictable. She feels no tension, no mystery, no fear of loss, because in her mind, she already owns you. But when you're the man whose time is sacred, whose energy is focused, whose life is already full, even with her in it or not, you create a subtle uncertainty. That uncertainty is not manipulation, it's authenticity. It's the reality that you are not waiting to be chosen because you've already chosen yourself. And this is where it gets real. A woman doesn't want to feel like your entire emotional world depends on her presence. She wants to feel valued, yes, but not as the sole source of your self-worth. When she sees that your mission continues, whether she stays or goes, it ignites a primal fear that walking away from you isn't just walking away from a relationship. It's walking away from a man of substance. She realizes that if she loses you, she's not losing someone who needs her, she's losing a man who chooses her but doesn't depend on her. She's losing a man who could walk away with peace in his soul and purpose in his step. And that thought? It sticks with her. You're not the kind of man who begs. You're the kind of man who builds. You build your body, not for her gaze, but because discipline is part of who you are. You pursue your goals, not to boast, but because they matter to your legacy. You nurture your friendships, you explore your passions, you travel into the unknown, not because you're running from loneliness, but because you've made peace with your own company. Whether she texts back or walks away, your world does not crumble, it expands. That, brother, is the kind of strength that cannot be faked, and it cannot be ignored. So here's your challenge. Start living like you've already arrived. Wake up tomorrow and honour your schedule, your health, your dreams, not because you're trying to prove anything, but because they matter to you. Become so focused on becoming the man you respect that her validation becomes a bonus, not a necessity. And in doing so, you'll notice something remarkable. Women will start to lean in, not because of what you do for them, but because of who you've become without needing them. Real-life advice. Don't wait until a breakup or a rejection to reclaim your sense of self. Start today. Take a walk alone. Reflect. Reclaim your mission. Build your kingdom. And when you do, when your actions reflect that internal solidity, you won't need to create fear of loss. That fear will come naturally, because deep down she'll realize you were never hers to lose. Now it's your turn. What's one thing you're doing this week to build your own sense of wholeness? Drop it in the comments. Let's sharpen each other. Let's lead with strength. Let's become the men the world rarely sees, but never forgets. Number 2. Let her see you choose peace over drama. Let her witness a man who chooses peace over drama and does it without flinching. In today's emotionally chaotic world, where reacting has become the norm, there's something profoundly powerful about a man who doesn't flinch, doesn't chase, and doesn't explain himself excessively when a woman throws an emotional test his way. Instead of raising your voice to meet hers, instead of diving into the fire she's trying to start, you do the unthinkable, you step back. Calm, composed, confident. You don't need to slam the door or deliver some grand speech. Your silence, your refusal to engage in unnecessary conflict, speaks louder than any outburst ever could. And it's in that silence that something unexpected begins to stir within her. She starts to wonder, does he not care enough to fight? Is he slipping away from me? Is he already gone? You see, most men fall right into the trap. They take the bait, every time. She stirs the pot, and they grab a spoon. They argue back, try to fix things too quickly, explain themselves endlessly, all in an attempt to prove their care. But what they're actually showing is fear. The fear of losing her. The fear of not being enough. The fear of being alone. And the moment a woman senses that fear, her attraction doesn't deepen, it fades. Because women, by nature, are not drawn to fear. They're drawn to strength. Not brute strength, but inner strength. Emotional sovereignty. The calm, unshakable presence of a man who can walk away if he has to. That's the energy of a high-value man. And that's where ancient Stoic wisdom becomes modern-day power. Seneca, the great Stoic philosopher, once said that a wise man values his inner tranquility more than any external validation, even the approval of others, including the woman he loves. That's not coldness, that's clarity. That's a man who understands that if he sacrifices his peace to prove a point or to win an argument, he's already lost something far more valuable. When you prioritize your peace, not just as a tactic, but as a way of life, you're showing her something rare and magnetic. A man who does not bend at the first gust of emotional wind. A man who stands rooted in himself. A man who cannot be manipulated by noise. And let's be real, in today's world, that kind of man is rare. Imagine this. She sends you a long, heated message, accusing you of not caring. She's trying to provoke a reaction, drag you into an emotional battlefield. Most guys would respond paragraph for paragraph, trying to defend themselves. But you You respond with one calm sentence. I'm not going to argue with you. Let's talk when we're both calm. Then you get back to your life. That calm, firm boundary, that's louder than any yelling match. That silence, that refusal to be emotionally hijacked, that's power. And it forces her to sit with herself, to wonder why you're not chasing, why you're not fighting. And that wondering becomes desire, because the man who is willing to walk away, who does not beg, who does not plead, who holds his center no matter what, is the man she fears losing most. It's not about being cold or distant. It's not about playing games. It's about knowing who you are, what you value, and refusing to trade your peace for temporary validation. It's about self-respect. It's about living with the kind of emotional control that Stoic men lived by centuries ago, because it still works. Every time. When she sees you won't let her chaos disturb your calm, she realizes she's not dealing with an ordinary man. She's dealing with a man who's not just attractive, but powerful. And that triggers something primal in her. A fear, not of abandonment, but of losing access to a man she can't replace. So ask yourself, when she tries to shake you, do you remain still? When she throws drama your way, do you stay grounded? That's where your strength lives. That's where her attraction grows. And if you've ever been in that situation, where you stayed calm while she tried to spark a fight, did you notice how the energy shifted? How her tone changed? How suddenly she started chasing instead? That's no accident. That's the power of a man who puts his peace first. Now I want to hear from you. If you've ever walked away from drama instead of diving into it, drop your experience in the comments, or keep it simple and powerful by posting, "My peace comes first." Let's see how many of you are living like modern-day Stoics, calm, centered, and completely unfazed. Now let's move on to the next key move you need to make if you want her to fear losing you. Number 3. Embrace the art of controlled absence. This is not just a tactic. This is ancient power, a Stoic principle disguised as silence, a weapon every high-value man must learn to wield. Sometimes the most devastating move is no move at all. Not running, not chasing, just vanishing strategically. Disappear just enough for her to feel the cold draft of your absence. Not ghosting, not revenge, it's positioning, it's psychological gravity. You're not punishing her, you're restoring balance, because a man who is always there becomes invisible. A man who steps back becomes unforgettable. Predictability is the silent killer of desire. When she knows you'll answer every time, show up on command, be her emotional doormat, her mind shuts off. Urgency dies. Appreciation fades. And that, brother, is how men get taken for granted. It's not because she's evil. It's because she's human. And humans are wired to value what feels scarce. The only way to remind her that you're not guaranteed, that you're not begging to be kept, is by walking away with calm conviction. That's the key. Not with anger, not with resentment, but with grounded, unshakable self-respect. He who is self-sufficient fears nothing, said Epictetus. And that fearlessness, that's what makes you magnetic. When you don't cling, don't beg, don't explain yourself, you emit a rare, almost mythical energy, a quiet force that says, "I am whole, with or without you." That's rare, that's powerful, and that shakes her at her core. Most men don't get this. They think silence means detachment. They think pulling back is weak. But in reality, it's calculated dominance. Controlled absence is a mirror. It forces her to see what she really feels. Her imagination goes wild in that empty space. Is he done with me? Is he seeing someone else? Did I mess this up? That uncertainty, that creeping fear of loss, activates the primal part of her brain. It's not manipulation, it's how desire works. We don't chase what we already possess. We chase what we fear we're losing. That's human psychology. And if you're always too close, too available, too eager, she never gets to feel that fear. But step back, and suddenly you go from ordinary to irreplaceable. The beauty of this is that it's not an emotional reaction. It's not a tantrum. It's a conscious choice, a strategic withdrawal. You're not doing it because you're upset. You're doing it because you value yourself. If she wakes up and realizes your worth, great. If not, that's her loss. A Stoic man doesn't need to be chosen to feel worthy. His peace comes from within. His power is unshakable. If you want to trigger her fear of losing you, stop talking. Stop convincing. Stop begging. Let your absence speak. Give her silence so her own thoughts turn into your strongest ally. Watch how fast she starts reaching, wanting, wondering. Because the man who can walk away with steady hands and a still heart, that man owns the frame. That man commands respect. And respect is where real desire begins. So take a breath, step back, and let her feel what life is like without your presence. That's not weakness. That's dominance. That's stoicism in action. And if you agree with this, drop a comment right now. I am the man who holds the power. Like this video, subscribe for more unshakable wisdom, and remind yourself daily, silence isn't distance, it's discipline. Number 4, showcase unapologetic self-respect. You are the standard. You are the reference point by which others learn how to treat you, and the way you carry yourself, the energy you bring into a room, the tone you set with your presence, it tells her everything she needs to know. When a man moves through the world with unshakable self-respect, when he knows exactly who he is and what he brings to the table, he becomes a rare presence in a world full of men too scared to rock the boat. Too many men shrink themselves, walk on eggshells, and give up pieces of their dignity just to hold onto a woman. They're terrified of confrontation, terrified of drawing a line, terrified of saying, "This is what I deserve," but not you. You've made a quiet decision, not to chase, not to beg, not to mold yourself into whatever keeps her happy at the expense of your soul. And that right there is what flips the script. Because the moment a woman realizes you are the kind of man who is not afraid to walk away, you immediately become the one she fears losing. Not out of manipulation, not because you played her with mind games, but because your very existence says, I won't stay where I'm not valued. That's power, real power, and women can feel it. It's in your tone, your eye contact, your calmness under pressure. They know when a man is bluffing, and they know when a man means it. Think of it like this. She's observing two types of men. One who overextends himself constantly, says yes to everything, loses himself in her life to the point where he has no edge, no mystery, no backbone. And the other, quiet, grounded, unshaken, who calmly asserts his standards and addresses crossed boundaries, not with anger, but with conviction. She will always be drawn to the second man. Why? Because his self-respect forces her to respect him. And when a man makes it clear that he values himself deeply, so deeply that he would rather walk alone than compromise his worth, she suddenly starts to calculate what it would mean to lose him. It's not about ego. It's not about being cold. It's about internal alignment. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. When you embody Stoic principles, when you don't need external validation, when your peace is untouched by chaos, you become exactly the kind of man who stands out. Your stillness becomes your superpower, because she can sense the difference between a man who is afraid of losing her and a man who is at peace with either outcome. And it's the latter who lingers in her mind long after the conversation ends. That fear of losing you is not something you demand. It's something you earn by living a life that speaks for itself. No theatrics, no ultimatums, just standards. Just a quiet, unwavering declaration that you will not tolerate less than you deserve. And when a woman feels that, truly feels it, she doesn't want to risk losing that kind of man. A Stoic man doesn't chase, he attracts by being. As Epictetus asked, how long will you wait before you demand the best for yourself? The answer should be, not another moment, because the man who demands the best, not loudly, but through the way he lives, doesn't have to fear losing anyone. He is the prize. He is the rare one. And when she realizes you are that man, her instincts will whisper the truth she won't always admit out loud. I can't afford to lose him. So let me ask you, brother, what does self-respect look like to you in a relationship? Drop your wisdom in the comments, share your code, and if you're walking the path of unapologetic self-worth, leave this below. I won't settle for less. Let's hear from the real ones. Number 5. Become a moving target. This is where most men falter, not because they lack desire, but because they lose momentum. The relationship begins, the connection feels secure, and before long, comfort takes over. Routines set in like concrete, and that once sharp edge, the drive, the hunger, the fire, is dulled by predictability. What many men don't realize is that predictability is the slow death of desire. Attraction doesn't live in still water. It thrives in movement, in energy, in unpredictability. Women are instinctively drawn to a man who is in motion, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and financially. When she watches you striving toward your goals, taking your body and mind seriously, constantly seeking knowledge, wisdom, and higher purpose, there's a part of her that starts to wonder, will I be able to keep up with him? What if he outgrows me? That tiny whisper of uncertainty plants the seed of deeper attraction, because human nature values what isn't guaranteed. We chase what we fear we might lose. So instead of becoming the man who parks himself in the same emotional driveway every day, be the man who's always building something himself. Be the man who gets up early not because he has to, but because he wants to. The man who reads to expand his mind, lifts to strengthen his body, and plans his future not for show, but for the love of the challenge. That kind of man radiates purpose, and purpose is magnetic. People sense it. Women sense it. It's what silently elevates your presence without you needing to say a word. When a woman sees that you are not standing still, that you're always evolving, she begins to feel that if she doesn't match your energy, someone else will. That subtle awareness, that quiet pressure, creates the fear of losing you, not out of insecurity, but because you're clearly a man in demand. And that demand is real because you have value, not just to her, but to the world. This isn't about manipulation. It's about living in alignment with your potential. The ancient Stoics understood this. Heraclitus said, "You cannot step into the same river twice. The river flows, it shifts, it evolves. So should you." Every day is a chance to become a stronger, wiser, more capable version of the man you were yesterday. The man who remained stagnant, repeating the same habits, the same conversations, the same outlook, is not just predictable. He becomes invisible. But the man who stays in motion, who keeps chasing growth, naturally becomes rare, and rarity triggers desire. Imagine the two versions of yourself, one stuck in the loop of sameness, the other walking with fire in his step, not needing attention, but commanding it through action. Which one is harder to replace? Which one will she fear losing when she sees you rise without waiting for anyone's permission? And here's the modern truth. We live in a world where everything moves fast. Technology, careers, social circles. If you're not growing, you're falling behind. The same applies to relationships. The moment she feels like she's figured you out completely is the moment her interest starts to fade. But when you keep challenging yourself, surprising her with your growth, and remaining grounded in your values, suddenly she realizes she's with a man who could walk away, not because he doesn't care, but because he can. And it's that potential, that quiet confidence, that shifts the power dynamic. You're no longer chasing her validation. She's working to stay beside the man who's constantly becoming more. So keep moving, not for her, but for you. Keep setting goals, keep expanding your mind, keep becoming. Because when you do, you not only become a man she fears losing, you become a man she deeply respects. And that's what lasts. In the end, true stoicism is mastering yourself, not for applause, but because your soul demands growth. When your life is driven by that internal compass, everything else falls into place, including the way she looks at you. Number 6. Reveal your selective attention. Women crave attention, but they value selective attention even more. See, the mistake a lot of guys make is thinking that by always being available, by constantly showing up, they're proving their worth. But the truth? When attention is too easy to get, it loses all value. It's like leaving the tap running. She stops noticing the water because it's always there. But when you show her that your attention isn't free, that you choose carefully where your energy goes, that's when things shift. Suddenly, your attention becomes something rare, something she can't take for granted. And with that comes a quiet fear. The fear that someone else could capture your focus if she doesn't step up. Imagine this. You used to text her "good morning" every day, always asking how her day was going, always available the second she needed you. Now, you pull back. You don't disappear, that's not the move. But you become a little less predictable. Some mornings you text, some you don't. When she reaches out, sometimes you respond right away. Other times you take your time because you're actually focused on your own life. What happens next? She starts to wonder. Why isn't he as eager as before? Is he losing interest? Is someone else getting his attention? That wondering, that uncertainty, that's where the fear of losing you starts to grow. The Stoics teach us a powerful truth. Your time is the most valuable thing you own. You can lose money and earn it back. You can lose possessions and replace them. But time, once it's spent, it's gone forever. That's why a Stoic man guards his time like a treasure, giving it only to what and who truly deserves it. So when you become the kind of man who treats his attention like something precious, not free, she feels that shift. She knows you're a man who doesn't chase, a man who doesn't need to beg for her approval, a man who could walk away if he's not respected, because his time, his energy, his focus are too valuable to waste. That's where her fear of losing you gets triggered. When she realizes you're not just another guy willing to bend over backwards to please her, you're a man in control of his own attention. A man who understands that your value isn't in how much you give, but in how much you choose to withhold until it's earned. And when you live like that, you don't have to convince her to value you, she'll feel it. And that fear? It will come naturally, because losing a man who knows his value is a loss she won't want to face. If you've made it this far, it's clear you're serious about leveling up, not just in dating, but in how you value yourself. And that's exactly the mindset that sets you apart. I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below. Let me know which part of this resonated with you the most. Or, if you're about guarding your attention and making her earn it, just leave this sentence in the comments. My attention is a privilege, not a right. Let's keep the conversation going. Number 7. Stand firm in your boundaries. When you consistently allow a woman to cross your boundaries without consequence, you silently tell her that those boundaries don't actually exist. She begins to see you not as a man with strength and clarity, but as someone she can manipulate, test, and ultimately lose respect for. And once that respect is gone, so is the foundation of attraction. But when you stand your ground, calmly, without hostility, you speak a deeper truth. I value myself too much to tolerate this. That silent message hits harder than any loud confrontation ever could. It's not about playing cold or emotionally withdrawing to control her. Stoicism never taught that. It's about knowing your worth and refusing to let anyone chip away at it. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the colour of its thoughts." If your thoughts are rooted in strength and self-respect, your actions naturally follow. When you choose to walk away from disrespect, not with bitterness, but with quiet certainty, you transform in her eyes. Suddenly, you're not the man begging for her affection, you're the man she's afraid to lose. Imagine a situation where she yells at you during a disagreement, throws personal insults, or hits below the belt to win an argument. A man with no sense of internal compass either explodes in rage or swallows it in silence, hoping to patch things up later. But a man rooted in old Stoic wisdom doesn't flinch. He looks her in the eye and says, "I'm not staying in a conversation that turns toxic. When you're ready to speak with respect, I'll be here." Then he walks away. That silence, that absence, it's not passive, it's powerful. because in that moment, you shift the dynamic. You show her that your presence is earned, not guaranteed. And this shift triggers something ancient in her psychology. The fear of losing a man who respects himself. It's a rare kind of fear, and it's potent. As Epictetus reminded us, you cannot control what happens to you, but you can control your attitude toward what happens to you. That includes how you respond to disrespect. Trying to change her behavior is like trying to command the weather, but deciding what you will and won't tolerate, that's within your domain. Your boundaries aren't threats. They're not ultimatums. They are simply declarations of the kind of energy you allow in your life. You're not locking her out. You're lighting a torch that says, only those who walk in respect may come near. And that's where attraction deepens, not just in her eyes, but in how you see yourself. You become a man of principle, of rare strength, and rare men are irresistible. Remember, people don't value what's always available. They value what they could lose. And when you show that you're not afraid to walk away from anything that threatens your peace, you become a man she not only wants, but one she fears losing. But here's the truth that most men forget. It's not just about having boundaries. It's about living by them consistently. You can't set a line once and erase it the moment you miss her. That sends the message that your standards are negotiable. But when you enforce them with grace and calm resolve, every single time you teach both her and yourself something powerful. I don't betray my own values, not for anyone. That's not arrogance, that's integrity. And that kind of strength? It's magnetic. It commands not just attention, but respect. So if you've ever wondered how to trigger a woman's fear of losing you, stop looking for tricks. Live with quiet strength. Be unshakable in your values. Let your boundaries speak for you. As Seneca said, he who is brave is free. Be brave enough to walk away. Be wise enough to know when. Be strong enough to never compromise who you are. If this resonated with you, I want to hear your story. What boundaries have you set that change the way she sees you? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm listening. Number 8. Master the balance between desire and detachment. Here's the ultimate key. Desire her, but never need her. Care, but not so much that you lose yourself in the process. It's this tension, wanting her, but not fearing her absence, that keeps her on edge. This is where you start triggering her fear of losing you. When a woman senses that you desire her, that you see her, appreciate her, even crave her presence, but at the same time, you carry yourself like a man who could walk away without hesitation if she disrespects you or takes you for granted. It creates a powerful shift in the dynamic. That subtle uncertainty makes her mind race. She starts to wonder, what would life be like if he suddenly disappeared? Could I really replace him? Women aren't drawn to men who cling or chase endlessly, because there's no sense of value there. But when you show her you care, while also making it clear through your actions that you're perfectly fine on your own, that's when her fear of losing you starts to wake up. The moment she realizes you could live without her, her desire to keep you grows. Think of it like this. A man who practices Stoicism knows that everything in life, even love, is fleeting. The Stoics teach us that we should appreciate what we have, but never depend on it for our happiness. You desire her, but you don't let that desire chain you. You can enjoy her presence, but your sense of peace, your sense of self, remains untouched. That mindset is rare, and it's irresistible. Imagine you're planning a weekend together, but something comes up, and she cancels last minute. Most men would sulk, complain, or try to reschedule immediately. Not you. You accept it calmly, almost indifferently, and fill your time with something meaningful, hitting the gym, spending time with friends, working on your goals. You show her, not with words, but with your energy, that your world doesn't revolve around her. That quiet strength plants a seed of doubt in her mind. What if he finds someone else who values him more? What if he simply decides not to come back? The key is to embody this without playing games. It's not about faking indifference or pretending you don't care. It's about genuinely understanding your own worth. When you carry yourself like a man who respects his time, his energy, and his peace, you naturally trigger her fear of losing you, because she knows you're not the kind of man who begs for love. You are the kind of man who chooses love, but only when it adds to your life, never when it costs you your dignity. So remember, care for her, appreciate her, desire her, but never need her. Like a stoic warrior, love with all your heart, but always be ready to walk away with all your strength. That's the energy that makes her fear losing you, because deep down she knows men like that don't come around often. At the end of the day, the fear of losing you doesn't come from manipulation, games, or chasing validation. It comes from becoming the kind of man who doesn't fear losing anyone. When you live with purpose, stand firm in your values, and carry yourself with quiet confidence, you naturally shift the dynamic. You go from being someone hoping to be chosen to someone who knows his worth, whether she sees it or not. That's the real lesson here. Your value doesn't come from how much you give or how hard you try to prove yourself. It comes from the way you respect yourself, protect your peace, and refuse to compromise your standards just to hold on to someone. The Stoics teach us, everything external, relationships, attention, even love, is beyond our control. What we do control is how we show up, how we carry ourselves, and how much we value our own time and energy. And when you master that, you become the man she doesn't want to lose. Because men with that level of self-respect are rare. And that's it for today, my friend. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit the like button, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and subscribe so you never miss more powerful Stoic wisdom to master your relationships and your mindset. If you've got any thoughts, questions, or you want to share your experience, drop a comment below. I read every one of them, and I'd love to hear what you think or what you'd like to see next. Remember, real strength is calm, clear, and grounded. Stay sharp, stay centered, and keep leading like a high-value man. See you in the next one.